What is going on, hobby enthusiast? Welcome back to episode 15 of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. My name is Murph. There's RickyRips over there. Ricky, how are you doing on this at least rainy day here in New England?
Yeah, it's been raining for the last few days here, but baseball's back. That's all that matters.
Baseball's back, and let's not waste any time. Let's just dive into it. MLB is full throttle right now, and there's a couple different news headlines that we could kind of talk about and dissect. But I think the first one that we should really kind of talk about is Shohei Ohtani. What is happening? His market was down. Then it went through the roof when he signed with the Dodgers. Then it kind of stabilized throughout the rest of the offseason. Then he looks good in Dodger blue. And now we have this whole betting scandal. He's still a great player. We'll see what happens when he comes back to the mound. What do we think about Ohtani right now? It just full picture. Like, where do we put our mindset at? Because his cards are going to be available at shows and online and at shops. But do we stay away from them?
I feel like they're at their low right now. I'm not buying Ohtani anymore. I've gotten rid of all my Ohtani.
Done.
Yeah, but I feel like they're at their low right now. They'll probably start going up again soon. But I'm staying away. I'm staying.
Now, why are you staying away? Is it because the hype has come and gone? Is it because of the betting scandal? Is it because the Dodgers may not be off to the start that you wanted them to? What's their record?
It's
they're 7-2, so it's kind of tough to do a lot better.
They're pretty good. Since I've started doing primarily baseball, I've tried to pay attention more to trends and all that stuff. So once the season started, I noticed that baseball, for some reason, slowed down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of card sales and all that stuff. And I noticed Ohtani really slowed down.
Now, I'm going to assume that the betting has a play in that. Guilty, until proven innocent is, innocent until proven guilty. Excuse me. But still, a lot of people think that he had. I know, right? Oh God, don't let me be a judge.
That's pretty much how it is now.
But don't, yeah, really. But like, I still think people out there do think he is guilty until he is proven innocent. And I think Ohtani is in a class of his own, obviously outside of his play, but his market is different, and you throw this into it. But, you mentioned that you're more into baseball, and I see on your story you're posting a lot about these prospects. Are you more into prospecting now? Because that alone is a very difficult thing to do, because how many prospects do people buy that don't pan out compared to the ones that do? Everyone's all excited over Holiday. Very easy for him to suck. He's going to actually have to go out and actually play well.
Right now, I'd say inventory-wise, I'm 50-50. I do have a decent amount of prospects, but I also have MLB, players and stars right now too. But prospecting is very hard.
So I do it.
It's that risk. It's that if you try prospecting to 10 people and one of them pan out, then it could pay for the other 9 that don't.
That's a good way to look at it. Any surprises in terms of the baseball market outside of, let's say, Ohtani, outside of, let's say, Holiday not making the opening day roster? Since opening day to now, that you've seen, that you've picked up, that kind of caught your eye? You don't have to show your hand completely, in case you're trying to, have something up your sleeve. But is there anything that's sticking out to you that is like noteworthy of interest to you?
In terms of like card trends and prices?
It could be card trends. It could be prices. It could be players to look out for, players to avoid. It could anything. Because for me, it's Jackson Chourio. And number 2 prospects, hard to, because
that's exactly who I was going to say.
He made the team at a young age. I mean, we kind of knew he was going to with that contract that he signed, but he's actually playing well. handful of games, but he's playing well. And I was watching the Brewers game and they had him ninth in the order. And I was like, this is perfect for him. He's like 20 something years old, 20 years old, actually. And no pressure at the bottom of the lineup. He'll probably be a top 3 hitter in 2 years for them, but he's playing well. And they're like still kind of developing him, but at the big league level. And I think he's living up to that hype. Whereas let's say they rushed a Jackson Holiday or a James Wood or anybody else, it could really hinder that player's development. I mean, I look at the Red Sox and a handful of top prospects that they've had that they've rushed, and it's like, oh, you rushed Bobby Dahlbeck. Oh, you rushed Michael Chavis. You rushed, this guy, Lars Anderson. It's just like the list goes on and on. So to see them kind of slowly still developing him, though, at the big league level is actually probably what sticks out most to me outside of the Red Sox being 5-2.
Yeah, 5-2. No, I was going to say Jackson Chourio because of what his cards are doing right now. So, like you said, he made the opening day roster. Everyone knew that. But because he's already on the MLB team, there's not going to be much hype unless he does something crazy. His prices are going down.
Down, you say?
What's up?
You said down?
Yeah.
Which is bizarre because all off season, all last year, people are buying him up. He's the next top guy, da-da-da. And now he made the opening day roster, which we all wanted him to do. And they're going down. So like that bodes the question. Is it because his name's not Jackson Holiday, or would Jackson Holiday still be prone to this? Because if so, then we got to start thinking of dumping these prospect cards before they get called up. Now, a guy could come out of nowhere like an Ellie De La Cruz, who was a top prospect when he got called up, but he didn't have a lot of hype or a lot of momentum like a Chourio or Holiday does, or even Paul Skeens for that matter. And then he came up and he lit the world on fire. Now, Jackson Chourio is not lighting the world on fire, but he's playing well, like we already said. But that still makes me think, okay, well, what if Jackson Holiday just plays good? Doesn't do anything crazy. He's good. Does that mean we're supposed to have the mindset of we have to dump these guys right before they get called up or make the opening day roster? It's a little confusing to me.
It's the whole buy the rumor, sell news mindset.
It really is. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like you said, the whole reason of buying into prospects is for them to one day make the MLB and start doing well. That's when they start. That you'd think that's when they start going up. Like I said, Jackson really hasn't gone up yet. I don't know the Brewers' record off the top of my head. They're probably like 4-3. Let's just assume.
Brewers record. Oh, that's roster. Oh, come on, just 2020. They are 4-1. They only played 5 games. That's it.
Yeah, so I mean, they're making a little noise at the beginning of the season, so you'd think that if he's doing well, it should be a little higher. But I've noticed they've gone down a little bit.
So small sample size. In 5 games for Chourio, he's played all those 5 games. He has 20 at bats. He's hitting .350 with 6 strikeouts. So, again, very small sample size. Goes 0 for 4, that average is going to plummet. He goes 4 for 4, the thing's going to go through the roof. It's still too early in the season. Like for me, baseball-wise at least, what teams are going to separate themselves from the pack, you got to kind of really wait till June. In terms of prospects, I mean, Chourio could play well, and then they could still send him down because they see something in his swing that they want him to fix in AAA. Maybe he just really starts to struggle, and they can drop him down. I feel like it's hard to find consistency when prospecting because obviously Chourio is still technically a prospect, so still part of that category until we find some level of consistency. And I think with Ellie De La Cruz last year, that hype and that excitement over the course of like that first month and a half or whatever, people thought that there was going to be consistency with that hype, and hype is never consistent for a long period of time, at least. And I think people got burnt at the end of the day because they were spending $200, $300, $400, $500 on just base cards of him, base prospect cards. And now you've seen that market kind of really dwindle down. But then again, we're past Ellie De La Cruz. Who's the next guy? Right? I tell people all the time, everyone was asking for Julio Rodriguez cards. I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it again. When he was lighting the world on fire and through that offseason. Then he struggled out of the gate to start last year. Nobody wanted his cards. Then people wanted Ellie cards. All right, well, who's the next Julio? It was Ellie. Ellie was blowing up. Then he started to struggle. Nobody wanted Ellie cards. All right, so who's the next Ellie De La Cruz? That's when Jackson Holiday was starting to get a lot of momentum. Now he doesn't make the opening day roster. So do we still buy him, or who's the next Jackson Holiday? So there's just so many different trends and so many different paths of hype, if that makes sense, because everybody collects differently, which is fine. Everyone has their own opinions and philosophies of how to collect, how to prospect, and who to buy and who to sell and such like that. Again, with this hobby, there is no playbook. It's not like, all right, we've got to wait till game number 15 in order to sell or buy his card. Like there's no playbook for that. So that's why I think there's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to prospecting, which is so fragile because again, these players have to perform. Ellie performed last year for the most part. Julio performed his rookie year. Jeremy Pena and, throwback Wander Franco performed, 2 years ago. Jackson Chourio is performing. What will Jackson Holiday do? Will he suck or will he actually live up to the hype? And I think, people are going to kind of take that, he could hit 250 and like, oh my God, he's doing so well. Look at his 10 home runs. Yeah, but he's hitting 250. We're expecting him to be a 300 plus hitter. So that's kind of my take on that.
That's what people love, the home runs. That's what people are looking for. Like the kid that I just started.
That Orioles player?
Samuel Basayo.
Yeah.
He hit like 20 home runs last year in the minors. Still had like a 300 average. So I think that kid's going to be good in the next few years. I started buying him.
I'm trying to find some stats to quickly go into, but I don't feel like I'm going to be able to find them. I was going to look for James Wood's spring training stats, but I don't think I can find them. Because I wanted to know how many home runs he hit. I wanted to know. Oh, is this it right here? Is this current? Is this year's? Hold on. Oh, this is this year's. Perfect. James Wood, the guy that we both love very much, who unfortunately did not make the opening day roster, but you know what? That's okay. He hit 324 average with a 457 on base, 649 slugging, with 3 home runs, 5 RBIs over 37 spring training at bats. I think that's pretty good. But still no damn hype around him. None. That's okay though. That's okay.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that really cheap.
Let people keep sleeping. I know the people that do watch this, they'll pop in the shop and they'll comment on certain topics that we talk about. I know someone actually did buy a James Wood card that I had here because we were talking about him, and we've been talking about him literally since the first episode. So there is traction there, but just not national. But again, that is totally fine. Let's move along, and I want to talk about inventory first before we get into another topic or two. And people all the time, Ricky, ask me, I have found all these cards, all these old baseball cards. What do I do with them? And my answer to them, well, actually, I asked them a question. Is it 80s and 90s baseball? And the majority of the time, the answer is yes. Let's just assume it's no. Let's assume that they just have a bunch of baseball, football, basketball of current guys. They don't know what to do. What do they do? How do they go about offloading it? How do they go about selling it? Because a lot of them don't want to lug it all to a show. A lot of them don't want to take the time to post it on eBay. And I actually have a couple cards here I've been meaning to post on eBay just because they won't sell here. They've been sitting there for a week and I haven't done it. And that's just 2 cards. I give people, hey, go to shows. Hey, post on eBay, Marketplace. How much of a hassle is it to try to move inventory? Obviously, I have a shop, so it's a little different, but how much of a hassle is it to move inventory?
So this hobby takes a lot of work if you want to become buyer, seller, all that stuff. Um, if you have too much inventory, eBay is eBay for a reason. A lot of people, everyone, eBay. Oh my God, what am I trying to say? There's a reason everyone checks eBay for comps and all that stuff. It's because everyone uses it. It's because it's a great place to buy and sell cards. But again, you just have to put in the work. That's the problem.
And people
The-
don't want to do that.
exactly. People don't like even myself. I've gotten lazy when it comes to posting stuff on eBay. There's plenty of stuff that I should post on eBay. I just haven't, but because it takes work. Like if everyone, if it was as easy as people make it seem in this hobby, everyone would be doing it. But no one sees the work that everyone puts in.
Now, let me ask you this. If you were to get out of the hobby completely and you wanted to go off sell all your stuff and you show, let's say, a handful of people, and those handful of people either want to cherry pick or pass altogether, do you get upset about that? Should you get upset about that? Because you want to sell it all. Oh, I found it all. I don't want it all. I just want to get rid of it. So how much leverage do you have if you really do want to get rid of it? There's an overarching picture here that I'm getting to.
Yeah. Um.
Because some people believe in cherry picking, some people don't. Um,
Yeah.
I I believe in cherry picking personally, but I understand why people don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like if people don't want what you got, then there's not much you can do about it besides put it back in the attic and forget about it.
And that's the thing. And and personally, and obviously I can express myself more here on Hobby Talk, on YouTube, on social media, than I can in the shop. People find these cards and they just want to get rid of them. They find them and they want to get rid of them. But they don't understand that if they just want to get rid of them, they have little to no leverage, regardless of how much value is there, regardless if there's $10 worth of stuff or $1,000 worth of stuff. If
Mm-hmm.
you just want to get rid of it, then either you need to consider a lowball offer, you either need to consider it being cherry picked, or you have to consider just keeping it. Because yes, there is $1,000 worth of value here, sure, but I don't need this. I don't need that. That's going to be tough to move, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So, like, that's why, again, I personally like to cherry pick because I think that, hey, I can use that. Oh, I can use this. Oh, he's hot right now. I like that. Oh, throwback. I'll take that. But that, I'm all set with. Oh, but I just want to get rid of it all. I just want it out of myself. Okay, then I'm not going to value it then. It's just people ask me like, oh, what percentage do you buy at? Oh, what percentage do you trade at? And it's like everything's different. You could be
Yeah.
showing me a first edition PSA 10, Pokemon card. Okay, that's going to have some value. You could be showing me a 2008, Colorado Rockies rookie card. I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to have a lot of value. So it's just like there's two complete polar opposites here. And I'll tell you my opinion about your stuff, what I like, what I don't like, and maybe I'll give you an offer. And if you don't like that offer, here are your other options. If I don't give you an offer, here are still other options. eBay is always going to be one of them. List them. It's a lot of work. I know. I'm lazy with two damn cards. I know it's a lot of work to take the pictures, post it, and all that good stuff. Facebook Marketplace, take a picture of it all, take it all, $1,000, whatever you're offering. Or you can go to a card show. But like you said at the beginning of the segment, you have to put in the work. It's people don't see the work, but you have to put in the work. If you just want to get rid of it all, you have to put in some work. And I personally think Facebook Marketplace is probably the less amount of work, but I want to get rid of it now, though. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to be able to. Take a couple pictures of
Mm-hmm.
it, let somebody come to you, throw it in your car, bring it to a show. Like, that's as little work as it's going to get because honestly, some people that this more so fits, this example more so fits, is oftentimes unattractive stuff, older cards, players that aren't in the league anymore. Yeah, like you're not going to buy a lot of cards if you don't think you can do something with it, move it, sell it, trade it, whatever. Because I'm sorry, but um, like Frank Thomas 98 tops cards just don't have any hype right now for me. I love Ken Griffey Jr., but his 95 scores just don't have any hype. They're Hall of Famers, don't get me wrong, but they're still quarter cards. And I don't know what's up with their Hall of Famers, though. I don't know what to tell you. That is a little to no value there. Sorry, that was a
No,
rant, please.
no. Sometimes I'm in a lot of Facebook pages, buy,
You
sell,
probably see this
trade,
all the
whatever
time.
groups. No, yeah, I feel bad for people like that sometimes because like you see a post like, oh, I haven't been in the hobby for 20 years, whatever. I have a Derek Jeter rookie card. How much is this worth? And it's like $2, and they're like, how? It's a rookie card of Derek Jeter.
Hall of Famer, best shortstop ever. It's like, how many of them were out there, though?
Yeah.
Like, people just don't understand that. I mean, it's literally supply and demand and inflation. There's too many cards out there. There are too many Derek Jeter rookie cards out there. Now, condition, aside, but just in general, in a vacuum, there's too many cards out there for it to truly have value. Outside of like, some really, short prints or autos or anything like that, early on. But like that high school rookie card of his, there is a gazillion of them out there. Him in that maroon jersey, whatever it's called. I think it was like Four Sport, whatever set it was. There's just so much of it out there. Is Derek Jeter one of the best shortstops of all time? Sure. Is he one of the best Yankees of all
Yeah.
time? Absolutely. Was he the face of baseball for a long period of time? Sure. Does he have value? Nah, no, it really doesn't. Really doesn't. I mean, you can look at Mike Trout. Mike Trout in the same situation. Oh, but Mike Trout, 2013 tops. Oh, he's a future Hall of Famer. Yeah, but it has no value though. I know that's not his rookie year, but rookie Trout's a different story. But let's just say, early career stuff. Let's say number to 499, third year Trout card, but it doesn't matter. It does not matter. But yeah, I mean, when people have too much inventory or if they want to just offload stuff, they need to understand, and a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't, that it's not just going to be easy. I'm not just going to take your junk. If someone's posting a bunch of stuff on Facebook, you're not just going to take their junk just to take their junk. You got to actually see value in there. You actually have to see opportunity in there. And at least the people that come into the shop that I deal with, again, Facebook's a little bit different. There's really not a lot of value. I hate to say it, but I mean, again, your Wade Boggs 92, Fleer cards just have no value.
So
So,
when that happens in your shop, how do you deal with that?
um, I try to be straight up with people. I try to be honest. I look through it. I look through everything. I look through it quick because if I see one, if I see two, the rest of it's probably very similar, in terms of like era, sports, condition, stuff like that. I go through it and I tell them, yeah, this stuff, I'm specifically going to use like 80s and 90s baseball just because that's what I see the most of. Is like, yeah, I got 11 bins full of this kind of stuff, and they're all quarter cards to me. It's not worth my time to kind of buy it or kind of trade for it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that might buy this kind of stuff. I can refer you to them. Otherwise, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or maybe bring them to shows was your best bet. Because I know people at shows will put in the work to actually take them out and sell them for 50 cents, $1 here, $1 there. Because some of the
Yeah.
stuff in there is, maybe $1. A second year Griffey card might be $1. I'm trying to think now. A second year Derek Jeter might be $2 for all we know. But it's just not worth the time for me to go through because it's not going to go in the case. And anything in my cases here are at least $5. Whereas the 20% bins like $2, but it just, I have to value my time over this potential
Yeah.
lot, if that makes sense.
And then
So
and then the rest of the law is just taking up a bunch of dead space, and then you have to figure out how to dump it and all that stuff.
exactly, like a while ago, and I just refound them. I'd probably say 2 years ago, maybe. I don't remember if I got them in a deal or deals or if people gave them to me, but I found like some weird sets from like the 90s. And it was like a 20 card hockey set was one of them. Um, 89 Upper Deck without the Griffey is another one of them. It's like 94 something. What, you know, they're complete sets, but it's like, what do I do with these? Like, could I post them on eBay? Sure, but they're just gonna sit there. And I'm in the process of moving, so it's like, do I really want it to sit there? And what if it doesn't sell by the time I move? I don't want it to get lost. So I'm left with either giving it away for free, like, here, take it, I don't care, because I was giving it to, it was free to me, or break it down and put them in quarter boxes, dollar boxes, and such like that, which is probably what I'm going to do. So from that perspective, again, I got to value my time here over selling something for a quarter or 50 cents or even $1. And it's funny. I'll quickly go on a divert from that. People will bring in like dollar cards, for instance, and they'll be like, oh, you buy these for like 50 cents a card? And I'm like, no, I won't, because it's not worth it to me to buy a card for 50 to sell it for $1. Now, ROI, percentages, cost to profit, that all makes sense. You buy something for 50, you sell it for $1, you do it 10 times. How much do you have? 250. But see, you do that 10 times and it's like, oh, that's really not that. Wait, was it 10.50? No, $5. Yeah, $5. But is it worth it for me to do it? Why can't I do this math? 50 cents times 10.
$5.
$5. Thank you. Wow. Oh, let me get a sip of this. Like, is it worth it for me to buy $2.50 worth of cards to sell them for $5? Probably not. Again, ROI, percentage, all that makes sense. All that checks out. But for me to go through the work to unsleeve them, to untop load them, to sleeve them, to top load them, to put them away, to put them in the bin, maybe look them up and price them, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. It's just not worth my time when I have over a dozen dollar boxes already. I got a dozen quarter boxes. I got boxes in the back. I actually have 6 boxes full of dollar stuff that I don't even have out on the show floor right now that I'm actually going to try to take to the new shop location this week or next week. It's just, time is an investment. And what you do with that investment is up to you. But to me, I'm not going to go through dollar cards that I got for 50 cents to try to sell them, when oftentimes a lot of people will donate them, or they'll just be like, will you give me $20 for this whole box? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll do that. So it's, people oftentimes don't understand that outside of money, time is one of the most important investments someone could have. And that's why you see a lot of businesses hire people, because they value their time. I mean, yeah, I'll say for a different day. That I'll say for a different day, because I do. You tired over there? Sleepy?
Oh, I got some in my eye.
Oh man, you got cardboard in your eyes.
Yeah, I guess.
You all right? You dying?
Eventually.
Okay. All right. So I want to go over. I love this time of month, the beginning of a fresh new month. We have data to go over. Great data is my favorite time of the month. Hold on. Just give me a second. I got to pull it up. Hold on. Boom. There we go. All right. This is from Twitter. I was able to find it on Twitter. What is it? Gem Rates Twitter account, where they post literally daily, because they go over like, oh, here's April 4th grading report of these companies. Here is, and that's like literally every day. Here is March 2024's grading report for PSA, CGC, Beckett, and SGC. You got the month over month change in a percentage, and you have the year over year change in a percentage as well on the far right. Looking at this data, Ricky, from all the conversations we've had in the past, anything stick out? And I'll get into the minutiae of like, oh, this is sports, this is TCG, da 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 da. But just based off of the data that you see here, anything stick out?
Wasn't the PSA number in January at like 1.2 million or something like that?
Yep.
And it's at less than half of that now.
Yep. Month over month plus 0%, and the year over year minus 6%. Now, again, when you're minus like 1 or 2% when you're grading a million cards, that don't matter. But when you're minus 6%, I wish I had February up here to kind of compare and contrast. But that was the biggest takeaway that I had outside of CGC still holding second place. Plus 83% year over year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's nuts. What is that, like 30,000 cards this time last year? I mean, I don't really know, but those two were the biggest thing. PSA, I don't want to say a fall from grace, but when you're losing half of the amount of cards you're getting graded, does that raise any questions? And listen, I'm no PSA fanboy, and I know people are out there, but like, is this concerning at all from someone like you who does submit to PSA? Like, does this mean anything to you? Because to me, this means something to me. I like this.
So to me, this just looks like it's not that people are grading less of PSA. It's just people are grading less in general.
Okay, interesting. Now, let me have a counter argument. Are people still grading less in general, even when the month over month for CGC, Beckett, and SGC is plus 1 or 2? And then the year over year for CGC and SGC is plus 83 and plus 61. Now, we already know Beckett's already kind of, slipping and sliding. Look at that, 31,000. I think in January, February is like at 50. So, like, even they're slipping and sliding down. But CGC and SGC are plus 83 and 61% respectively. Are people possibly going different avenues with grading their cards? Because that's kind of where I'm at with this, is maybe people are sick of the turnaround time, the lack of transparency, the price point. They're not getting the grades they want. They're not getting the easy 10s that they once thought they were. But here's SGC, who does 5-day, 10-day turnaround time. Here's CGC that people actually really like for TCG cards. Beckett, we've already talked about a few times how they've just hit a wall and they're crumbling like right before our eyes. Mm-hmm. And here's PSA, 500,000, well less than half of what January was. No increase or decrease over month to month, but down 6% year over year, which I think is noteworthy because we're not dealing with millions of cards being graded at this point for them. It's interesting to really look at and to be like, huh, really? Because people tell me all the time, PSA has all this value, all this resale value, but do they really? I don't know. I know you're still itching your eye over there, so I'm just kind of distracting people while you figure yourself out.
Yeah, I'm surprised SGC is so low.
Should I go over to the next slide and look at where each category is being graded from? So here's the categories. Yeah. So in terms of,
I had to guess, SGC is a lot of baseball because they run a lot of specials.
They do. And I'll still sit here to this day and be like, wow, how did Fanatics not buy SGC out? Because they do specials with Bowmans. They do specials with Tops. It's just, it felt like a Fanatics buyout, with everything that they've already bought out.
They probably put in the bid.
What's that?
They probably put in the bid.
I mean, if you ask me, I didn't know SGC was on the market. I would have put in a bid. I would have offered them $100. Why not? TCG is still very dominant in the hobby, mainly Pokemon, but of course you have your One Piece, your Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Lorcana mixed in there as well. 481.1 what was that? 1,000 cards being graded. CGC 153.8 thousand cards being graded. PSA down 2%, CGC plus 2%. Baseball, a lot of cards being graded for baseball for PSA. I would assume because spring training and the baseball season is now here, or was upon us and now here. No surprise there. But I at least talk about how CGC is on the uprise. Oh, it's now the second company. But it is mostly TCG though. Does that play a factor, Ricky? That the second, I'm just going to put in quotes, the second best grading company, let's just use that term for now, is grading mostly TCG cards? Or in order to make that claim of number two, do they need to either diversify themselves with sports, or more sports, I should say, or is this fine? Because if you look here on the right, it's minimal sports. I mean, far less than SGC, Beckett, and here's CGC there. Is that a concern for, again, quote unquote, the second number two grading company right now? The thought is impeccable.
No, I mean, it's what so would you say CGC is basically a trading card trading company? Like
So
they specialize.
I would say when they first started, that's what they specialized in, was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and like comic books and magazines too. You know, a lot of people will get like Sports Illustrated magazines or you know, just SI magazines in general, graded with them. However, then they introduced CSG, which was the sports grading, which was not really a thing, but it was gaining momentum. And then they kind of put it all under one roof. And now no matter what kind of card you're grading, it's going to get the same label, except for the comics. That's still the blue label. But this black label is going to be no matter what kind of card you grade, TCG, sports, whatever. So I still think people think that they're a TCG specialized grading company if they know that there was once a separation of the two, CGC and CSG. For those maybe more of a novice or kind of a casual or someone newer, and they just know CGC, then they may not know that there was once two kind of brands, let's say, two separate parties. They just may think that it's all under one roof. So they just see this. What is it? They just see this 153 and they're like, oh, wow, that is a ton of cards. Whoa. So that's just how I'm kind of thinking of it personally.
Yeah.
But those that, you know, been in the hobby for a while, that have seen it, maybe lived it, they'll know that, oh, yeah, CGC is more of a Pokemon kind of company. And I'll always say that, you know, I think Pokemon and CGC does great. If you have a TCG car, specifically Pokemon, I would prefer you to send it to CGC just because there is a lot of hype and excitement, and there is a supply and demand for CGC graded Pokemon cards. I know some people that actually prefer it over, you know, the competition, PSA included. But it, you know, as decreased as PSA has become in terms of cards graded, they're still grading a ton. Like we cannot ignore that fact. They're still grading a ton. And with the draft coming up, and I don't want to get into the draft, you know, in this episode, we'll save it for next episode. I'm curious to see the spike of football cards between, let's say, now, when we revisit this conversation in May, when we revisit it in June, because all we're going to have for these players, you know, the draft prospects, is their college cards.
Yeah.
So when Caleb Williams gets drafted by probably the Bears, there's going to be no Bear rookie cards of Caleb Williams, not until August, September. But there will be USC cards of him in his collegiate jersey. And I'm curious to see the amount of cards those get graded to be sold, flipped, traded, whatever. Are you surprised about basketball by chance? I don't know if you got a chance to look at the basketball, how low it is.
What it is?
How low it is? Just because it's really, I mean, hockey is its own different thing. You know, people around here really don't care about hockey, even though they should. Yeah. But hockey and basketball players are starting very, very shortly. Celtics are one of the favorites. Bruins are a top contender. So around here, it's hard to say, you know, people care about Bruins hockey, you know, in terms of the hobby. I know diehard fans do. But nationally, basketball is very popular. You know, you got LeBron, you got Jason Tatum, Jokic. I mean, we could do this all day. Giannis with top players. but it is still reeling in less cards graded pretty much across the board, regardless of the company, than baseball, which just started, and football, who hasn't played a game in 3 months. I think that's a little bizarre.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
I mean, do people just not want to get Paulo rookies or Wembenyama rookies graded? And again, this is regardless of company. Do they not want to get Tatum cards graded, Jokic cards graded, LeBron cards graded? So to me, this makes me think that moving forward, and this might lead to my outgoing take as we get into that momentarily, to buy basketball cards. Because I think in terms of the market, there's going to be less basketball cards, graded basketball cards on the market. You doing research?
No. But yeah, now that you mentioned that, I don't know why basketball is so. Is it because like been too much product coming out and people aren't grading it right away?
I mean, we just had March Madness, men's and women's. It's been an exciting tournament, both sides of the field. Again, basketball playoffs. I think there's like 7 games left of the season. So it's like, if you want to get cards graded in time for the playoffs, you would have thought the time will already have been, passed. So that's why, again, I'll go into my outgoing take first, and I already kind of mentioned it, but buy basketball cards apparently seems to be the move because people want graded Jason Tatum, graded Giannis, graded Jokic, graded this guy, graded that guy, Victor, Paulo, the Thompson brothers, Scoot, whoever it may be. Seems like now's the time to maybe be buying those. Or on the flip side, maybe it's now time to get those kind of cards graded. That's going to be my outgoing take. Ricky, I'd love to hear yours.
Well, we're still buying James Wood. Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like you have to know how to maneuver the whole room sell the news market.
Any quick tips on how to kind of maneuver, what was it? Buy the rumors, sell the news kind of a thing, anything, because people may not know. I mean, we all have social media, but when is the rumor over?
When everyone is talking about it and everyone is looking to buy it, that's when you should sell it.
I agree. I like that.
Once that hype dies down, it dies.
Dead. I remember last year, again, I was telling people, who's the next Julio Rodriguez? Who is it? We got to buy him now, whoever it is. Take your chance on whoever it is now. That ended up being Ellie De La Cruz for a hot minute. And, all right, we're going into this year. Who's the next Ellie De La Cruz? Who's it going to be? It could be Churio. It could be Jackson Holiday when he gets called up. Maybe James Wood gets called up. Or maybe it's someone that we're not even talking about that might get called up and they just go on a hot streak for 6 weeks. Got to take the risk now. Got to try to find that guy now because whoever sold Ellie cards during that peak definitely made out well. And I think that's kind of where the excitement of this prospecting, especially baseball, because it's such a long season, really separates itself from the other sports. But that will wrap it up for today's episode, guys. A rather shorter episode. I do have a couple things to do today before the shop opens. And we will be back in 2 weeks for episode 16, we're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about the market at the time. Maybe we dive more into the grading report, baseball. There's just going to be so much that we're going to be talking about because we'll have a little extra time to spend on each topic. But Ricky, thank you so much. As always, have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you very soon.
You too, Murph. See you later.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching. All right. Where is... Oh, it's off screen.